Rising Stars is brought to you by Kikomon.
I just want to have a brief chat with you, Christian Hunter, about your job as head chef of Community Table in Litchfield, Connecticut. Tell me about Community Table.
Excellent. Community Table has been around since 2010. It started off as the kind of brainchild of the owner and his daughter to be kind of an outpost for the community to come to. And there was no restaurants really close to that area. So they put one right smack dab in the middle of the area where there were no restaurants. And so since 2010, they've been rocking it out there. Which now fast forward to 2022, as of 2020, I became the executive chef of Community Table. They actually found me mid-pandemic, early pandemic, and luckily I was also in the job market as well. And somehow, they were committed to farm to table, and that is definitely what I'm committed to. So without sightseeing at all, they offered me the job, and I said, sure, I'll take it. And I came up here, and we've been rocking it ever since.
And is this your first executive chef job?
This is my first executive chef job.
Great. So what is your favorite part about your job at Community Table?
Yeah. So for me, I think the best advice I ever got when I was coming up through the kitchen was you work at the capacity of the job you want, not the job you have. And so I attacked that job in that sense. So luckily, when I first got this opportunity, I was ready for it. Luckily, I'd already before been a CDC, an executive sous chef. So all the things that I was doing at that point came naturally here. And honestly, the biggest part of being an executive chef, it's the people. The food comes naturally at this point. You know how you want to be putting food on the plate. You know how you identify with food in a sense. But the hardest part is the other part of the element, which is who you work with. And, kind of how do you take these usually people from different backgrounds and areas and bring them in together as a team.
And so how do you do that?
Yeah, definitely the way that I've got to see kind of both worlds, I think, because I had a few chefs while I was coming through the kitchen that were more traditional, very kind of strict to the point, hard nose. But then I also had some chefs that were a little bit more personable, a little bit more approachable. And so for me, I kind of assumed both of those identities. And in my kitchen, the most important thing is the food. It is always the food. That's what we have always come together for. And that's what we are, a for-profit business. So the food comes first. So we honor the food, we respect the food. These farmers bring us awesome product. And so we want to use it the right way. We try not to waste anything that we don't use necessarily in the restaurant. We can put in for staff meal. We definitely do a lot of recycling. We do, honestly, I even give any of my, if I'm not making veg stock that week, I can give my vegetable trims to one of our porters who has chickens, who will sometimes drop off eggs. It's that kind of thing. So the food comes first, and then to me, it's about community and culture, being inclusive, spending time together, and finding a way to reach common ground. I think that in my kitchen right now, we're excited about food. We go out to eat and have new food experiences. Even, we can't do it once a week. We do it at least once a month. And, we try to just spend time together outside of work when possible to tighten those bonds.
And what is a dish or two that's on the menu now or was recently on the menu that sort of exemplifies food at Community?
Yeah. So like I said, I think my most favorite part of working with food is working with all the local purveyors that we have. In particular, one of my favorite dishes on the menu right now is this awesome venison kofta that I made. Now, typically venison is used fall time, winter time when it's cold. And I was thinking, lamb leanness, venison leanness. It's an awesome product out of Millbrook, New York, woman-owned business. And I was like, why can't I make people excited about venison during the late summer and early fall? So I did a kofta interpretation with it. So I'm doing a pine nut hummus with it, tons of garlic, olive oil, really nice. And then for the veg set of it, we're doing a eggplant caponata / pepperonata. So it's just a bunch of local eggplant, peppers, a little bit of tomatoes, garlic stewed down. Still has a little bit of texture, but just like a nice accompaniment with that. And then on top of that are the koftas, venison ground with basically cumin and cinnamon, cilantro, onions, garlic. Then we throw a little bit of golden raisins in there, pine nuts. And then I put a little bit of the fermented Thai chilies that I do locally in there just for a little bit of heat. And then on top, a little bit of tahini sauce, a pickled beet salad, and local flowers.
And a kofta is like a Lebanese, Middle Eastern little kind of beef or
meatball. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yes, it's a meatball.
Exactly. And it's always fun to make food approachable for people that's somewhat similar. Like we can say, hey, venison, some people are afraid of, but this is how it's prepared. Or maybe people are familiar with venison, but they're not familiar with kofta. So then this is a cultural experience for them, and then we can pull them in. So it's kind of just hitting on all notes when you want to kind of make people excited about food.
And you can just say, this is a Mediterranean meatball. Eat it. Tastes good.
Exactly.
So,
and then go ahead, please.
No, you were going to talk about another dish. Please do that.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see here. I was thinking, awesome. So there is this awesome dish that I put on for just a quick moment, but right now we are getting awesome shishitos. And so we're serving those shishitos with basically like a cilantro aioli, a little bit of tomatillo salsa, and then local corn. We make char it, put it on top, and then a little bit of local cheese sprinkled all over, kind of like this really cool play on elote plus blistered shishitos. So it kind of is a very fun dish. You can kind of pick and play with your flavor combinations and really explore the plate. And mostly everything on that plate is local.
And so you just had some local shishito peppers, you blistered them, you put the stuff on top, and that was it.
Absolutely, yeah. We try to make the presentation we want you to be excited when it hits the table, but we don't want you to be a plate that looks so unapproachable so that you don't feel like you're going to ruin something that is like an art. So, we try to plate it in a very humble, but very still elevated way.
Sounds great. So you've been at Community Table for a couple of years now. What are your plans? What are your goals, either for going somewhere else, maybe don't tell your bosses, or for evolving the restaurant?
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of lofty ideas, and, I definitely have James Beard on my mind. I want to do that. I set that as a goal for myself some time ago, especially as a African-American chef. But ultimately, I feel like my career is leading towards, really still doing what I'm doing, but doing it in a way, especially in Northwest Connecticut, I want to bring more of that metropolitan feel to this area. I was super inspired by going, I've gone to San Francisco and all the cool cities with awesome food. And I really think that small town America with, this awesome farm to table scene could really support some really awesome restaurants that do fun, modern food. But we also can pick these restaurants up from like a metropolitan area and sit it down in these awesome areas that have great support for people that want to do and eat and dine farm to table. So yeah, I see that for myself. Obviously, I would love to do it with my current company, but regardless, that's what I'm committed to and really feel passionate about.
And it sounds like even in Litchfield, Connecticut, your whole farm to table approach is supported by your customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Rising Stars is brought to you by Kikkoman.